It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jen Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in the studio today. We're going to be talking about the Oak Creek Watershed Restoration Project with Red Rock Ranger District NEPA planner Elizabeth Munding. Welcome back to studio.
Thank you.
And Patrick McGervey, it's first time here. He's the Red Rock Ranger District Recreation and Wilderness Staff Officer. Welcome to studio.
Thanks for having me.
We are going to separate the show into two pieces. The first is we're going to do the Oak Creek Watershed Restoration Project. We're going to squeeze as much in as we can today's show.
Okay.
And then on February 27th, we're going to talk about trails and no trails and decommissioning trails, restoring trails, and all that good stuff. So we're going to have two shows with these folks right here. Let's get into the restoration project. Now, that has been in the works for a while, right?
Yes, it's been in the works. In fact, part of what the Forest Service does is a watershed condition framework. And so this actually has been going on for a while. In 2016, we did an action plan. And that action plan has now fed a project that we scoped back in the end of December of 2017 into January of 2018. We had a public meeting, and we've gotten some comments back on that, over 50 comments from the public, letting us know what they think of our project, which is 9 individual, we're calling them activities, are under one umbrella that are going to take place in the Oak Creek watershed.
And this is all starting all the way down from, say, 1,000 Trails in the Verde Valley, where it meets up with the Verde River, all the way up to where Oak Creek starts in Upper Oak Creek Canyon.
Yeah,
right.
Pump House Wash.
Pump House Wash, so it's the whole thing.
So you're right. We call it the upper, middle, and lower sections of the watershed.
Okay. Okay, so is this a done deal now? Are we still taking public comments, or this is set in stone, this is what our plan is, these are the 9 activities we're going to do, and it's going to happen, and we're going to start implementing them?
No, we're still in the works. What we're doing is we're refining our proposed action. So we went out through our National Environmental Policy Act as required. We went out with our scoping to the public, and we said, this is our proposed action. This is what we're thinking of. And with that, we've got back comments from the public. At this point, we are taking and reviewing those comments, and we are refining our proposed action and seeing, how it meets our purpose and need and our desired conditions of what we want on the ground out there. And so now we plan to put a document out at the end of summer 2018 approximately, and that will be out for 30 days for the public to look at it and then give us additional feedback. So it is still an engaged process with the public.
Okay, so and is that the final stage then? And after that, you'll take those public comments, you mix it in with what you've got done so far, and come up with a final draft, and then is it another public comment period after that, or just the work get started then? After
that, we will come out with a final EA, environmental assessment, with a draft decision.
Okay.
And that is when, should there be need for objection, people who comment do have standing to be able to object. And at that time, which will be late 2018, probably, we hope to get this done by January of 2019 approximately.
Okay. So I'll be seeing you guys in about a year again after that.
Yeah, and then we can start cranking on some of these activities.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what are some of the things we're looking at in Oak Creek Canyon? Because it's a busy place. Oak Creek Canyon is not what it used to be when I was a kid, where you could go through Oak Creek Canyon. It was pretty quiet. It's jam-packed year-round. It's not a summer destination anymore. It's a destination year-round. So it's a big challenge.
Right. It is. And of the activities, activity number 1, which is about our informal roadside parking, is one that the public has, in those comments that have come into us. People have been commenting about that. They're concerned about access to their recreation, to their hiking, swimming, fishing, climbing, things like that. But
I've got concern about just access to the roadway. I've driven through there.
Right.
Safety. I've driven through there, and in the area of Slide Rock State Park, actually had DPS in the middle of the road with cars actually parked on 89A.
Right.
And they're gone. They're down swimming, and their DPS is there waiting for a tow truck. Or just the amount of people walking on the roadway. It's almost as if they think they've entered Disneyland, and this is just a great big walking path for them. So, yeah, there's some serious concerns about the parking up there.
Yeah, and so we're working with ADOT on that as well. They've got a big part of this as well. What do they need for safety on our highways, and what's appropriate use for parking, or if you have a breakdown, where can you pull over?
What are some of the ideas we have so far for up in Oak Creek?
Well, so within that activity 1, within that 14-mile stretch of Oak Creek Canyon, we've identified 58 locations, and it is on a map that's within our proposed action that the public can see. And we've identified where we need to rehab those sites, and in coordination with ADOT. And so we will be analyzing all of those locations in this plan, and they will be closed through either a guardrail and or vegetation rehab is what we're aiming to do in that. And that is for the safety of the recreationists. We want responsible recreation there, and part of that is where people are parking, how the hikers are crossing the road, and the such like that. And we think that although this is a restoration project, by having improved restoration, watershed restoration throughout Oak Creek, that will enhance the recreation experience.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
That's our goal. So, and some of these we're adding in the next couple projects. For example, we're adding toilets to different places within.
I noticed that too. That's a big deal in the canyon as well.
Yeah. And actually even lower.
Continuing on, the canyon is really busy, like you said, and folks are continuing to go downstream and access the water and play in the water, all the way to the Verde River. So some of these other areas that maybe weren't as busy in the past are now getting busier. Places like Angel Valley and Chavez Road are the 2 locations in those next couple activities where we're considering adding a toilet, because E. coli has been a concern since 1973. In fact, scientists have tracked the exceedance of E. coli levels in Oak Creek, and we want to adhere to state water standards. That's important to us in this project. And in addition, Oak Creek has been designated by the state as an outstanding water way, and so we want to, because of that, there's certain protections and standards that go with that outstanding Arizona waters. So part of that is creating an opportunity for recreationists to recreate more responsibly, to not walk on social trails and park in unauthorized areas, and to use toilet facilities and to do responsible recreation.
I would think the Oak Creek Watershed Council in Sedona has probably been a big help.
Definitely.
They've been doing quite a bit of studying up there in Oak Creek Canyon over the past several years now, where they've actually got people out there every day trying to educate people about the litter. And then we get the press releases from them about how much human waste they've cleaned up in a year, and the diapers they cleaned up in the year, and the trash alone that they clean up. So that's E. coli. But then you got all the animals on the side of that.
Right.
And I mean, let's face it, Oak Creek sits at the bottom of a big V.
Everything comes down.
So everything comes down when it rains. So yeah, E. coli is going to be a tough one.
Yes, it is. It's something. They are definitely one of our partners. So is the Northern Area Forest Foundation and the Verde Watershed Restoration Coalition. So all of those partners are key in this, and they've been dialoguing with us. There's a group called Traffic Matters that's been dialoguing with us also to help create a safe and responsible, sustainable recreation.
That's going to be pretty nice to have that research. You really don't even have to go out and do, because somebody else has, another group has already taken that and brought that to the table, and so you've got all this great research in front of you that you don't have to have the U.S. Forest Service going out and doing all of that. You've got some of it done.
Well, they'll help with the implementation as well, and possibly even funding. So at this point, our job is to analyze it and to get the NEPA through, the documents, so that then we can move forward after that with the implementation.
Okay, so we've got parking, which ADOT's going to help out with. I knew ADOT was a partner in this, and I was kind of curious as to what their part was going to be, but I like to hear the fact that we're going to rejuvenate some of those parking areas along the road, as well as shut some of them down so people can't park their cars there. It's amazing when people think they can park their cars alongside a road. All you need is a little bit of gravel, man. I'm parked. And then the E. coli. Oh, you know what? We got to take a break already. We got to take a break. Okay. 2 folks from the Red Rock Ranger District here today. We've got Elizabeth Munding, the NEPA planner for the Oak Creek Watershed Restoration Project, and then Patrick McGervey's here. He's on Trail Project. Stick around, countywide. Back in just a couple minutes.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With VerdeLinks, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking about the Oak Creek Watershed Restoration Project with Elizabeth Munding and Patrick McGervey from the Red Rock Ranger District of the Coconino National Forest. We've talked about parking issues, the fact that this plan is not going to be ready until probably, 2019?
You're right, early 2019.
Late 2018, early 2019. There's still time for the public to participate in this. But in order for you to participate in this, you do have to attend the meetings and be a part of it. I can't just not attend anything or read anything and just send you my opinion, can I?
Well, what you need to do is you need to comment during an official comment period. And so we'll be announcing when that next one is through our press releases and also through getting on our mailing list. And so in this project, there is a tiny URL /Oak Creek WRAP, W-R-A-P, that people can go to and get on the mailing list if they're not informed of it now. But we'll try to do our best at publicizing that so that people know when is an official comment period, and then that's how they engage with us. And we'll have public meeting most likely. And
then Brady always sends me that stuff, or Joe Chosen sends me that stuff too, and then we put it out there as well that they got 30-day comment period coming up. So so we can take care of that as well. Okay. Now we talked about the roads and the parking. We all know that's an issue in Oak Creek Canyon, has been. We talked about the E. coli issues, and you guys did mention that there was going to be some toilets put in. Yeah. I've noticed that's a thing that's happening. We had one just recently at, I want to say, right there at Midgley Bridge. Was this last year?
Yeah, I think that was a replacement.
A replacement of one? Yeah. Okay. But that's been a thing. It's been these bolted toilets been going in. So Fossil Creek was where I was thinking last year. Fossil Creek was where we had some put in.
Sure, we had 8 of them put in at Fossil Creek. And so we want to, in this project, which is along the Oak Creek, there's a couple day use areas that we're trying to enhance that sustainable recreation. And so that was at the Chavez Road and at the Angel Valley where those toilet infrastructure would be going in. Okay. But as we talked about E. coli earlier, we know as the Forest Service, we know, people ask us, well, isn't it, wildlife has, feces as well, and that there can be leaky septic systems of private landowners who are very close to the forest. And we understand that, there can be other reasons, but we have zeroed in with this high recreation that has just soared throughout Oak Creek, particularly in the canyon. The E. coli there appears to be from human feces as well as pet waste. And so one of our projects, under those 9 projects here, is that those increased number of pet waste stations, for a place for people to pick up their waste and go ahead and dispose of it.
Okay. All right, so pet waste stations are coming as well.
Bring it out with them,
because that's another Oak Creek Watershed Council group thing too, is the pet pet waste stations. I know they were big on those as well, getting those out there.
Yeah, so we're looking to implement more of those.
Trash. Trash is another issue. How do you deal with the trash? I mean, that alone seems like a huge problem because, I mean, here you are, you park along the side of 89. Anybody knows when you want to go to the creek, most of the time you got to go down a hill, and you got to carry all that ice chest stuff and all that stuff. By the end of the day, after you've been in the sun, you've been swimming and everything else, you're pretty exhausted. It's pretty easy to say, I'll just leave that there and the Forest Service will clean it up.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I
what do we
think
do about that?
education has been the key to that, and Oak Creek ambassadors have helped us out a lot, making those contacts and making people understand when they leave that food waste out there, you know, it is increasing animals getting into that and increased E. coli. So I think that face-to-face education is really important, and
that stewardship mindset. That's what, you know, we hope to achieve that, especially with the help of our partners. And when you think of that, you know, it is the watershed condition, because when people are going down a social trail and stomping on the soil, that soil is then crumbling and falling into the water, which is affecting the macroinvertebrates, which is affecting the fish. And so walking on a social trail does have an impact to the health of the riparian system there and the watershed condition. And so a couple of these projects, thinking about wildlife, they do zero in. People say, oh, well, you have two projects that zero in on wildlife. Activities 4 about the northern headed garter snake, and activity 5 about that aquatic organism passage. But the bigger point is that wildlife and their health are part of all of these projects, because if you have a healthy riparian system, it allows the natural state of those species, and some of them are threatened species. They are listed species, and it is our job to help provide habitat for that. And part of that is through the promotion of responsible recreation, to allow their home to be the most healthy it can be for them, for those wildlife.
Okay, it sounds like a huge challenge. Now, Fossil Creek, when Fossil Creek became open and the Child's power plant was decommissioned and all that, we saw people just surge into that area. And it took a few years, but now we've got the reservation system up and running, and it seems to have worked really well. We've got the vaulted toilets down there now. We've got specific parking areas, and things have really kind of cleaned up down there. But we were actually loving that area to death. Is there any way to save Oak Creek from being loved to death? This is obviously a step in that direction, but it's going to be tough. With millions of people driving through there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of access, and so I think we're trying to find those access points that are sustainable, being parking and trails to get down to the water, because everybody wants to go down there to fish or play in the water, and then also providing those access points that give people those hiking opportunities up out of the canyon, or whether it's climbing or hiking. So I think, you know, figuring out where those places are first is trying to manage that, and then making that education and making sure those places have things like bathrooms and sustainable trails that give people access to the places they want to go.
When something's full, it's full, right? I mean, it's full. You can't put any more people in there. And let me ask you this. Do we have any idea if we're going to be able to have added patrols? Because I noticed that I was hiking Bell Rock Trail, and I noticed there was a forest person out there that walked past me. I thought, oh, okay, wow. That would make me think about, you know, throwing my trash on the ground or doing something stupid out there. Is it more patrols? Do we have money for that, or is it even a possibility?
You know, I think these partners that we mentioned earlier are a big part of that, and you know, recruiting volunteers that are interested in stewardship and taking care of that stuff. And it may not be somebody in a Forest Service badge out there, but it may be somebody that can kind of educate people, not just throw ticket books and enforce things. You know, kind of a variety of those.
Kind of related to this project, but independent of it, we are doing kiosk signage explaining what is a watershed and what about the health of that watershed. And so we are having about $100,000 project go in and signage throughout and along the Oak Creek Canyon. So that will help create, because part of what we heard at the public meetings is people are wanting those stewardship messages to go out, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do better messaging. We're also going to do managed recreation. I think that's what you're seeing in Fossil that you were applauding about. And that here, you know, we've had unmanaged day use sites. We've had unmanaged parking. We've had unmanaged trails. And now what we're trying to do is take a look at that unauthorized parking, those unauthorized trails, and our unmanaged areas, and to say, how can we do a better job at this that's going to allow for the maintenance and ongoing health of the watershed.
All right, let's take our other break. Elizabeth Munding and Patrick McGervey from the Red Rock Ranger District District in studio today. Stick around. Countywide will be back in just a couple minutes.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a few minutes left in the program to talk about the Oak Creek Watershed Restoration Project, which is in second phase? Third phase is coming up, huh?
Well, we've gotten through the watershed framework condition,
right.
And so now we are actually in our proposed plan.
Okay. Nevertheless, if you want to find out more about these 9 activities along the Oak Creek watershed, you can go to the Coconino County National Forest website, Coconino National Forest website, not Coconino County, but the Coconino National Forest website, and you can find all the information there. Okay, so we got roads as well. Let's punch list the roads real quick.
So we've been talking a lot about up in the canyon,
right.
And it's a pretty tight corridor. Mm-hmm. When you get down lower near Cornville, that area, the topography really opens up, and we've got a lot of roads that were either created by the Forest Service a long time ago or are permittees to do grazing or other activities, and basically unauthorized use people just driving their vehicles out through the desert down there. And so all those roads are impacting the watershed.
They are. The more roads out there, the more disturbance of the soil and sediment can fall into the water.
Sure.
And so that's what we're concerned about in that lower section. And so we've actually identified in our Activity 9 approximately 19 miles of roads that are either unauthorized or are not meant for public use. They're admin use only, some of those. And so we're going to be rehabbing those, or we're going to be rehabbing as well as blocking them.
Okay.
We're using boulders, using vegetation, and the such.
Can't drive back there no more. Stay off that road.
Yeah, so they were already decided quite a while ago, 2013, that they shouldn't be open for public use, but we haven't necessarily done any implementation to close them physically. And so I think that's what these activities will physically close them, physically restore them so they're actually functioning right. They've got drainage in them. We'll maybe spread vegetation across the top of them so they're kind of going to bed.
Let Mother Nature take them back.
Yeah.
Right.
And reduce that sediment that's
And this is
drained.
between, I would say, the outskirts of Sedona all the way down to about 1,000 Trails where the confluence is.
That's a pretty good description.
Right, trails back in there. Okay. Awesome.
Roads.
That's it. We did it.
Well, thank you.
We did, Elizabeth. Good to see you again.
Thank
you guys are going to stick around. We're going to do another show that's going to air on February 27th, talking about trails in general. New trails, old trails, rehabilitating trails, destroying trails, getting rid of trails. all things about trails. All right, Patrick?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, that's today's Countywide. Again, all the information at the Coconino National Forest website. This is Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.